morning. Welcome to Help the Helpers. And and Lip is nodding his head, ready to go. This is our fourth about discussing the undiscussable with uh, with the help of focusing. And it's quite a brave enterprise, I think, talking about what is so difficult to talk about. So we've had religion, politics, sex, and now money. Who thinks that money is the hardest one so far? Just raise your hands.
Mm. I'm not.
Who thinks that sex was the hardest one? We're going to
Um,
do another one about sex. Who thinks politics is the hardest one? Oh, a lot for politics. I think politics is winning. And did we vote for all of them? I think so. Robert, you had your hand up. Did you? Was that? Oh, you were voting. Okay, good. So I just want to say that the broader intention for this project is that we're testing out the power of focusing. Focusing enables many, 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 many things to happen that can't happen without it. And when I'm talking about focusing now, I'm not talking about a technique that Eugene Genlin gave us with 6 steps. I'm talking about the broader embodied introspection of being being close to one's own experience and open to how that experience is an interaction with the world. So, what can focusing do? Can it help us to talk about things that we can't usually talk about? One of the things that we need to do to set our intention this morning is to remember that safety in a group isn't a guarantee that people aren't going to say things that offend us. Because if you're trying to talk about the unsayables, of course they're unsayable because they can easily offend people and you can easily be hurt. So we're not talking about not being offended, but we're talking about when you are offended. Let's say somebody says something that really hurts you, that the group is a holding environment for that, and that we can go to ourselves and say, breathe. Can I let that in? Gene Genlin has this saying about his clients that he has the the client is mad at him. He goes, and then, the client is getting stronger. So we need to have that sensibility in our help the helpers that if somebody says something offensive, that it's, but then there could be a, ah, expressing something. What is it? A curiosity. So money is connected with so many other things. And what I'd like us to do to begin, before we even begin, is just take a minute and come inside and outside and stretch and come into this community more fully. And ask yourself, what comes to mind to body when we think of money. Money. Such a big subject. You might even want to write down something. There might be an image, there might be a problem, there might be a joy, there might be a feeling. What do you feel about money? Right? We're used to talking about how do I make more money, or how do I pretend that I have more money than I have, or how do I pretend that I have less money than I have, or how do I spend my money? How do I pay the bills? How do I justify buying something that's off my budget or something? All of these kinds of things. But just see, how do you feel about the whole area of money in your life? Okay. I'm going to ring my little bell from Jerusalem, and Katerina is going to introduce Esther, our reflector this morning.
So we welcome Esther Dyson, who was here before. She talked with us about AI, and she's written a book about AI. Esther Dyson has also a wide range of projects, and she's in New York City today. Esther, do you like to say a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm Katerina's sister, and
that's the most important.
honestly, it is. And I haven't yet finished the book about AI. This is the last month, so it's like the last month of pregnancy or something. You're just waiting for it to be over. But unlike pregnancy, it's not a question of waiting; it's a question of scrambling to finish the book, which has a chapter called "Power and Money." So I don't know
Esther, could you
exactly.
put that in the chat for us? I can't wait to read this book.
I will stick it in later during the
Okay.
break.
Good.
And before, Lynn, you start things off, I just want to give one quote from Oscar Wilde, who wrote a whole bunch of plays and poetry and so forth. And it's in one of his plays, Lady Windermere's Fan. One character describes another. He knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. And in a sense, my book is about the difference between humans who have finite lives, and time is the most precious thing they have, and the whole world of AI and the Silicon Valley dudes who know the price of everything but the value of nothing, who want to live forever and want more and more of everything. And it's sort of time versus infinite scale, and value versus quantification of everything. How much are you worth? How many houses do you have? Just, and my thesis is that the finiteness of your life helps you to make choices, because you can't do everything. And if you allow it to, that lets you relax and say, okay, I'll do what I can do. I'll do what's most important to me. I don't need to count things. I do sort of need to rank them. What are the trade-offs? And for some people, there's also the money helps them make choices, but they're still free to make choices. And understanding that you can't have everything, but you can pick from what's available is, in some sense, the greatest personal power if you can feel that way. So that's what we're all hoping to do, I know, is do much more Q&A and so forth. So Lynn, I will let you start us off.
Well, I kind of said my beginning piece, but I would love, before we have our discussion, Esther, if you could tell us a little bit about the power and money chapter.
Okay. Which will be, so the epigraph for that chapter is, and I don't know how many of you are Americans versus Canadians who are on the continent of North America. But the emperor has no clothes, but he's carrying bags of money. And that is, so the basic money is totally quantifiable, and power in the end isn't, it's not fungible. It works in certain situations over certain people. The first thing about power is there's power to versus power over. There's power to get things done, power to move around, and then there's power over, which is to make other people do things. And to some extent, money gives you power. There's another wonderful quote, Norman Mailer, in his book, he has this guy who marries into the mob. And at one point, I'm not quoting exactly, but he says, there's $1 million that will buy you $1 million of groceries. And then there's $1 million that the mob has. It has power over people, as well as the power just to get $1 million of groceries. So you can kind of swing it around and force people to do things. And a final thought, or whatever, everyone talks about, well, what does money do to you? People think they earn it, they deserve it. They don't think they got lucky. And that corrupts them partly. But the other thing that happens if you have a lot of money is what it does to the people around you, because they keep being nice to you because they want things from you, and you stop hearing the truth. And if you look at some of the most famous people right now in the US, famous for being rich, they are surrounded by people who tell them what they want to hear. And there's also some counterexamples. And I hope I don't trigger anybody here, but you take Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates, who had wives who I think helped keep them steady, because these clearly were women who told them the truth and said, hey, calm down, guy. And then both of them unfortunately got divorced, and they became, you can see it in their behavior change. They just became surrounded by people who told them they were great and that they no longer had any limits on their behavior. And the only person they sucked up to was the president. And then there's another interesting example. Did you know that there were two Elon Musks? So there's the Elon Musk at Twitter, now X, and Doge, and he's just, this is formally recognized. He takes drugs, he's crazy, he's office rocker. But then there's the Elon Musk at SpaceX, where Gwen Shotwell actually runs the company. And I kind of imagine them going to see NASA, and Gwen kind of pokes him in the side and says, "Okay, Elon, you keep quiet. We're going to go in and talk to NASA. They're the government. So no drugs, no funny remarks. Just I'll do the talking. If I need you, I'll nudge you." And SpaceX is a far better run, more organized company. It doesn't necessarily always deliver on time, but its spaceships work. And it's just fascinating to see all those dynamics. So that's sort of the basis of the chapter, and how fungible money turns into power over people because of people's reaction to the money. It's not the money itself, but it's how the money influences their thinking, how it changes power dynamics. And this is nothing new, but we have some current day examples.
Thank you very, very much. That gives us a kind of background platform or something to think about. And maybe we could start our discussion with our beginnings and our own family culture about money, and how we grew up thinking about money. What comes to me when I think about it is that my parents were young and very inexperienced about the world, definitely about the world of money. And we never had basic money. My father was paid every 2 weeks. He was a fireman. And we would spend all the money. The minute he was paid, we would go and buy all our groceries and everything. And then the rest of the 2 weeks, we would have to go to this little corner convenience store that gave us things on time. And we would eat canned stuff and whatever they had. And then when my father was paid again, we'd have to pay them back. We would have no money again. But a memory that I have that very much brings, I think, my whole attitude about money was we wanted, my mother, father, and I desperately wanted ice cream on a hot sunny day. And we went searching through the house for pennies. You could get an 8-cent ice cream cone. And we looked in all the cushions of the couch and different drawers, and all three of us scampering about finding 8 cents so we could share an 8-cent ice cream cone. And I think it gave me the feeling that money was very mysterious, but sort of not a big deal. There were occasions when our electricity would be turned off because we didn't have the money to pay the bill. And my father wrote this song that he sang to me. The electric man knocks on the door, parlez-vous. The electric man knocks on the door, parlez-vous. The electric man knocks on the door, but we don't answer it anymore. Hinky dinky parlez-vous. So that was something, I think, that has given me the feeling of money being very sort of amorphous and expandable, and nothing terrible happens when you don't have it. I think I got that feeling as a child. So I'm very curious about other people and how you feel about money, how you were brought up about money. Oh, I should say that although money wasn't a big deal in my family, my mother was horrified that anybody would think we were poor. Being poor was this terrible shame. So that That said a lot. I think Susan has her hand up.
I do. Esther, I'm very happy to see you. I have a lot of joy, and I'm very sad at what you're saying. So I just want to say that I just feel very moved by this. And I have a healing background and also a finance background. I have an MBA and also a coding background. And I was planning to spend the morning actually opening up a Vanderbilt course on Coursera and, you know, giving Anthropic some money and writing an AI application to see exactly where we are today with the paid stuff and what it feels like to run a team of bots and all this kind of stuff so I could start to get a handle on this.
Mm.
And I want to say also that I'm open to helping you in any way that I can and volunteering or whatever you need.
Thank you. I I'd love to talk later, but you have some
Yeah,
interesting experience.
if there's a way, like if there's an email that you want me to use or anything like that, I'm happy to reach out or phone number. I'm happy to give you my phone
Yeah.
number in the
Well,
chat.
during the break, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. Whatever's
So,
in the break, I'm not seeing it right now, but I will check it before the end.
okay. Thank you. And I look
Thanks.
forward to hearing more, even though I'm
Yeah.
so sad about it. Yeah.
Reality.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to have breakout rooms, but Esther will say in the main room if people have particular questions and thoughts to share with Esther.
Who else has some childhood memories?
Hey everybody, it's BJ. Before we go on, I just want to say thank you so much, Susan, for the uh presence that you brought us who you are and how that just cuts through to that place before words. I I was not gonna say what came to me, but I will because of you. What came in the inside was uh a line from more to less. And then immediately this grief, just this grief at it. So thank you. That's it for me.
Bruce?
Thank you, BJ, for saying that. You named the emotion, which I wasn't able to name, which is grief. Um, so my father was a doctor, and we were upper middle class. And at the same time, he was always threatening to throw us out if we didn't shut the lights off. And I took that really seriously. I'm going to cry. Years of therapy, I'm still. So I saved money as a Peace Corps volunteer. Who does that? And I'm still saving as much as I could possibly can save, and I can't spend because of this fear of being thrown out. My brother died homeless.
Oh,
Um, there were other things involved, and he was ill, but it was a long time ago. So it's nothing. Money is just not to do with the numbers, and so much to do with the attitude. And my parents would go off on vacations with their respective lovers, and we never had a family vacation, so I didn't really learn. Anyway, still a lot of sadness and what was me kind of around that. So it's a great topic, and I'm sorry I wasn't here right at the beginning, but thanks for the topic.
thank you, Ruth.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so sharing is so rich.
Like Liv would like to go.
Yes, I like to share. I have a very healthy respect for money, I think partly because during my childhood, my father's fortune go up and down like the roller coaster. So I can remember living in a detached house, then moving to a rented apartment, then having to move to my uncle's house. So it goes up and down, and so it gives me a very healthy respect. And also, when I came to England for university, so I have to work every vacation to earn to pay the university fee and my accommodation. So I virtually paid myself to university. And that gives me a very rich experience because I have so many different kinds of jobs, staying with so many different kinds of families. It gives me a rich life experiences. And I think I don't want to have all the money I need to buy whatever I want because that gives me no choice. So I like art objects. So when I went to a gallery, I have to weigh very precisely, is this really worth it? And so that gives an added value to the object that I decide to buy. So it gives me an opportunity to discern what is really of value. And obviously, I also like to support artists, but then I have to consider my circumstances. So I think uh, one can adopt a very, very useful approach to money. So that's all I want to share.
The other Susan Desiroth, I think, had your
Dyson.
hand.
I grew up feeling I was special and that my parents had a lot of money because my father had a store, a department store grew up in a small city and was a store in the family. So I grew up feeling different from other kids I went to school with. We had more money, and I felt the kids were jealous and really didn't like me underneath. And this is painful. I remember buying them ice cream cones. We had a charge account at the ice cream store, you know, like buying friendship, but it wasn't real friendship. So I felt very guilty. I mean, we were not as rich as I and my child mind made out at all, but I felt guilty and I felt greedy, not wanting to give any of that up. And I also, I think, had a very sort of, what is it, money attitude towards friendship, well, buying friendship. And I felt, I mean, I think this gave me a very false notion about many things and about myself, a lot of shame and greed. So I don't have money now, and I'm I'm a lot happier. That's my little tale.
Thank you.
Other stories?
I just wanted to say thank you for that because we almost never hear that side of it, Susan. So from
Oh,
my Susan Hart to your Susan Hart, thank
yeah.
you.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for saying that. Even to tell that, there's feelings of shame that come. So I really appreciate your what you just said to me.
Money and shame seem to be intertwined in the same way or maybe different ways than money and sex and money and politics. I mean, shame and politics, shame and sex.
Yeah, it's sort of ironic in a sense. I mean, we know about the shame of being poor and the shame of being rich. Not everybody feels it, but it's almost more unspeakable in some way because it's like, why are you so unhappy? You're rich.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take this in a slightly different direction for a moment, just maybe to cheer you up. And this is not a, how shall I say it? I could show you my room. It's kind of messy, but I'm not a hoarder yet. At the same time, I do, if something's being offered for free, a T-shirt at a conference or whatever it is, I'll take it. And then my task is to find the rightful owner. And yeah, I grew up certainly not poor, but when I was 7 or 8, I loved the ice cream cone stories. You could get we had 35 cents for lunch money. You could get an ice cream sandwich for 15 cents. And so I would buy 2 ice cream sandwiches and have a nickel left over. And that was really the first money I ever counted. And I did that a lot. But I'm still kind of tight with my money, but I love taking things and giving them to people who want them more than I do, because it's a way of, I have all these things and I have too many of them, and this now is something somebody will love in a way that, for me, it's just waiting for somebody to give it to. And just last week, I was at a conference where the speaker was whatever he was blowing bubbles, and it was a wonderful talk, and it was all about attention and some of the things we're talking about here today. And I ran into him later and I said, do you have an extra bubble blower? Because I know this kid with autism who would just go crazy for it. And I took that back and I'm going to give it to him in 2 weeks. And it's, I mean, I could go buy it for $8, I'm sure, but just that sense of taking something and letting it do its job in the world is, it's more interesting and it's more valuable than just handing out money, which is only quantifiable but has no meaning. Anybody feel, I hope, positively triggered by that, or if some way it could go wrong? I don't know. Lynn, take it away.
It's BJ again. Thank you, Esther. I don't feel more cheerful, but it's just another one of these little meaningful things. If money helps us make meaning as well as power, that there's something so lovely there that about generosity, and that you go out of your way to find things that you might find somebody to give to is just really a beautiful characteristic. I hadn't put it in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, writing this book has, I think, made me a better person by thinking about these things more deeply and sort of, leaning in. Yeah, I love using things up. I love giving them away. And what am I? I'm 74, so I want to have a pretty empty apartment by the time my time is up.
I just spent half the week on an online video game. My team had already won the trophy, so I used my time and digital energy and everything to help other teams get their trophies. So I understand that.
And that was even better than winning, I bet.
It was cool. It was so cool. I'm like rooting for these little teams. Come on, like checking back in on them and coming back in, dropping resources, and it was just a lot of fun. Yeah, it was cool.
It brings in, Esther, it brings in the whole creativity and money, that when instead of thinking about it in terms of scarcity or guilt about having too much, thinking about, the creative ways that we can make money, that we can give money, give things, give money, give opportunities to people. And I just wanted to go back a step to what Susan Dysroth was saying, and say that I feel guilty about having too much money, and I feel like I have not enough money. I wondered if other people have that also. But I don't want to lose this creative aspect of how we can be creative about money.
Maybe spending it wisely is a way to, and wisely means creatively, wisely means creating value. Things that are in the world, if you put them in the right hands, or I don't know, put them somewhere where they can be used rather than just, it's like, why keep a beautiful piece of art in the basement? And if you can use money to do that, to sort of release the value, it makes you feel less guilty about it.
Pauline, you've been waiting to speak. Let's hear you.
Good morning. Hi, Katharina. I kind of really just want to value all that has sort of been put into the melting pot. Really just hearing different stories, Susan, Lynn's, and, up to now. And it's what I want to put in is my new relationship with value and creativity and the source of abundance, and really kind of identifying with how I attract abundance into my life and love. And I think, Susan, when you were talking about buying, we too had business, and I don't know that I felt guilty. I just felt I probably was innocent in that I was a pushover, getting things from the shop and giving, but it was really not having a value in myself, and that would have contributed to a self-image of like just being pleasing by giving. So in later years, or through therapy or self-reflection, it's coming to the sense of myself as a spiritual being rather than as a physical being, or examining my beliefs around power. So it's a co-creation, the power of all of that. My thoughts around who I am in the present. And kind of really going with my preference. I prefer it to have an idea of a God source, that there is no scarcity, so that's what I'm challenging myself in this section of my life. So it's, and something about love as well, separating the power of love. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Was it worth 2 cents or 4 cents?
I think there's something in that, Esther. It's like it's only my opinion, and yet if I don't actually, value my opinion, then I'm sort of just giving it away, and it's not self-respect. So something like that. Is it worth it? It is to me, because it's like identifying my new intent. So thank you.
Pauline, you're putting something into the pot. We're sort of brewing this very rich stew of all of our feelings and thoughts, and that idea of abundance and the feeling of the source being vast is an important part of our stew.
And you all know, I'm sure, the story of the stone soup.
Oh, yes. I
with
was
the
just
magic
thinking of
stone.
that. Tell that story again, Esther, to have it in
Well,
our thought.
the version I know is there's this grifter who has, a boring old stone, but he calls it a magic stone, and he goes into a village and he says, "This is a magic stone." When he's hungry, this is a magic stone, and it will, turn your soup into something that will cure cancer and let you live longer. And I'll put the stone in. If you could bring me a cauldron and some water, I'll put the stone in, and then, you know, uh, I have a few potatoes here and some carrots I'll put in, and if you happen to have any leftover meat. And what really happens is, of course, the villagers bring all the healthy, expensive food, and he puts in some carrots and potatoes and cooks up the soup, and it's the magic soup, and everybody believes it. And he's made the vegetables and the meat and everything. The villagers have actually made their own soup for themselves, but his magic stone sort of makes that all happen. And because they came together, they actually do get healthier. Whatever. There are many versions of the story, but I love it.
Wonderful. We have two hands up. Robert, I think, came first.
Robert and then Charles.
And Charles. I think Robert might have stepped away. Charles, would you go first?
Oh, sure. Just thinking about having enough not to worry. You're going to have a place to live. You're going to have food. You're going to have clothing and so forth. Once, I've had a few times where I worried it was going to have enough or something. That was a real anxiety about not having basic needs met. Once the basic needs are met, that is pretty much all I need in a way. I think more than that, it might enable me to buy something or get something. I'm finding myself curious about the concern about money, because real concern for me is just having enough to live on. Once I have that, it kind of just more than that is fine. It can be, but real concern and doesn't really enter very much into its a word. No, I'm curious listening to people. See if they put meaning that money sharing. Because I'm a little puzzled actually. Once I have enough.
I wonder if you do another such session. Another unsayable could be, loss of capacity, whether it's illness or having a stroke and going blind or losing your hearing, because to some extent, just having the money to pay for treatment or solutions or a hearing aid can change those dynamics dramatically. And there's a wonderful book by Frank Bruni called The Beauty of Dusk about what happened to him when he began to lose his eyesight and fearing it would get worse. But I don't want to get us off track totally, but I think that's one thing where money plays such a huge part in human welfare. You can lose your house, but you can also lose the use of your legs or whatever.
Yeah, but does money give you your loose? Yeah, there is aging, and money doesn't reverse that. And you can try to eat well and exercise and do things to maintain your well-being. But I also have fortunate in America to Medicare, which will cover the bigger. Just don't worry too much about that. Suppose I would if it didn't have the little semblance that we have in America of this medicine.
Yeah. I mean, there was another person in the queue. It,
Yeah.
I do think this is a whole different topic, but I just wanted to point at it.
Well, I
Yeah.
want to bring it.
Does money buy health? It might take medical care, right? Yeah.
I want to just bring that in as part of this in saying that worries about the future are often around worries about money and so many people are really terrified of being homeless in old age, being not having basic care. So that worry about the future and worry about money seems to go together. But we have two hands up.
Yeah. Victor and Liz. Victor and then Liz, yes. Mm. Maybe. Liz, would you like to unmute and speak? And then
Victor was first.
well, his microphone is not working yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was interested. People are talking about how much money they had or didn't have growing up. And my family had enough growing up, but then I had to figure money out. And how do we figure out money? Is anybody taught? Because I know it took me years and years as an adult to figure out how to pay bills, balance a checkbook. I used to bounce checks. I had credit card debt. I didn't understand about interest. I just didn't understand money. It seems like it's simple. I could do advanced mathematics, but I couldn't really figure out how to live with money in any rational way. And as I say this right now, I feel ridiculous. I've even just saying it now. Why couldn't, it's just addition and subtraction, but it's so much more than that. Kind of, it has so much to do with being independent and figuring out. And so, we know there are people who have a lot of money and they go bankrupt. They don't, or people who didn't have money, people in the entertainment business and other businesses, and they get a lot of money all of a sudden and they don't know what to do with it. And they hire the wrong managers who scam them. And so it's not just a question of what you have. It's I don't even know how to talk about it. It feels just huge. And something to do with being a grown up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm thinking of so many women whose husbands die and then they have no idea how to balance a checkbook. Of course, we don't balance our checkbooks in the same way anymore, but that helpless feeling of I don't know what to do with how do you manage money? There is something so mysterious and important about it. Dorothy,
And Orna also is raising his hand.
her hand.
Her hand, sorry.
At first, Dorothy.
I wanted to relate to what Liz said. I had that same experience of not understanding money, and I think I just had a lot of shame about not being able to balance a checkbook or how long it took me and how anxious I got if I couldn't balance a checkbook. It's like, sort of, what's wrong with me? This is just simple math. Or, if I made a mistake, and it just a lot hanging over me around it. And I find it so interesting because my sister had none of that and was very good at all of that. And
like I think this is also money is in a family is so tied to the psychology of it all, or the inner. There's a whole who you are as a person and where you are in the birth family order. She being the older sister, and just she aligned with my father, who was very astute with money, and I aligned with my mother, who was all over the place. That's why I think there's such a complexity to this subject on who you are and your relationship to money. And the one other thing I want to say is like something I want to explore that has come up as we've been talking and sharing is I don't understand my urge to be generous and my inhibition to be generous. They both exist in a very strong way, and it's always been mysterious to me. Like why I can't be more generous. It's like the voices that say you can't let go of your money. I just find that ambivalence striking at times. So sometimes in the simplest way, going to a restaurant and with a group of people, and like somebody saying, "Oh, we might be $5 short. We're not sure, but we'll wait till we get the bill." And then, well, do I just go and give the $5 right away, or do I hold on to it? I mean, there's such a simplicity, and yet such a complexity to the wanting to give and wanting to. I have to hold on. Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah. Can I talk?
Yes or no?
Yes.
I'd like to continue what Yao wrote, or to say something about the politics behind it.
Yes.
I grew up in a family that money is not a topic to discuss. Not sex and not money. Um, and my feeling is that it has to do with generational attitude towards money, and the belief that money is either very dirty or sinful or something of that nature. And from a very young age, I wanted to disconnect myself from money. And my father used to call me a spiritual person, even before I knew what's the meaning. But for him, spiritual is just the opposite of material. Um, it still exists in me, even though parenting changed my attitude to money because I needed to be more practical and to, take care of my daughter future and my daughter raising, upbringing, I mean. And I think that for me, value and money are so different. They have nothing in common, nothing whatsoever. And I don't know if to drop, I'm not sure it's good to drop this idea, but I can connect in a way to what Charles said about money and health. Can money buy health or even life? In the Holocaust, people sometimes bought their life. And that's the case of my family. So it's very heavy topic. And I don't know if my parents feel the same about it, but they still don't talk about it. They're reaching their 90s now. They still don't talk about it. They talk about many other things, but not this. So it's a heavy subject.
Could I just ask how they bought their lives?
Yeah. Many people know the story of Kastner's train. Do you know it? The train that saved more than 1,000 Jews during the Holocaust, and it was these Jews were lives were saved in exchange for trucks of gold, as far as I understand. And it was a very big debate in Israel about the the right to negotiate life with the Nazis. And Custer himself was murdered in the middle of his trial about his negotiations. So it's very crazy. I think very crazy times. It's before I was born. And I still feel that it's not even guilt, it's beyond guilt, it's generational load. Um,
Thank you so much for bringing that whole dimension in.
Thank you.
I have a question. What would help you let go of that guilt?
Let go of the guilt?
Yes.
Wow.
What would help you let go of it?
Amazing question. I don't know.
You've been through enough.
Yeah, it's before my time. I did nothing. I'm not guilty. uh, but it's there. It's in the air. It's nothing that I can do because it's generational.
Well, yes, I think that this is such an important topic, and maybe we should have this as a separate topic of generational guilt, generational everything, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some way we are carrying forward our ancestors in our lives.
Yeah, you're certainly, you can inherit privilege or guilt. One thing I noticed in Russia was how, in the US, people will sort of implicitly say, well, if you're not Bill Gates and anybody in this country can be successful if they only try, which is, forgive me, complete bullshit. But the opposite, in a sense, is also wrong. But in Russia, people were unhappy, but they had no power, not even power to, let alone power over. And so there was very little regret. It's never like I should have done better. It was more like I had no choice. And things are awful, but my job in life is to survive them and make them less awful and maybe raise my children. So the women had that sense of purpose raising their children, and the men had nothing. Life was awful. I had no choice. I might as well drink myself to death. And that sense, having that sense of agency, even if it includes dealing with guilt, it gives you the ability to deal with guilt, perhaps. I don't know. These are random thoughts.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Okay. Marvin, you like to speak, and then Charles. And I'm still looking for Victor, who
Robert is there.
if anyone knows how to find Victor, just leave me a note in the chat, please.
So
Thank you. Thank you, Katarina. Lynn? May I speak?
please.
Okay, hello. I just wanted to share three events in my life regarding money. 2010, facing a very bad 2 years, and I was running a consultancy agency, and I was driving home because I took a decision. The decision was to reduce the salary of all employees by 33% and to reduce mine by 52% in order to ensure that no one lost his job. But there was a plan to recover if ever we would recover. But I just remember driving back home and seeing my wife is going to say, I'm crazy. What's wrong in your mind? So that was 2010. And then 2014, that same company, we had a fantastic year. Everyone was still there. And I leveraged the money. I took a loan and I built 4 small houses, 1 for my mom and 3 to rent. So that was 2014. And then 2019, I had the project to bring 137 Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to West Virginia for what we call the World Jamboree, big gathering of 40,000 scouts. And it was the first time bringing them, and the budget I had to find that was responsible was $400,000. I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue how to find it. I just said, we're going to make it. We're going to make it. Let's structure that. Let's see how we'll find out. How we're going to make it. And we made it. So 137 Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts came to West Virginia in July 2019. So it's just to say, maybe I'm a bit crazy with money. My relationship is a bit like that. So that's my sharing.
That's beautiful. The creative aspect there. It's wonderful.
And what you did with it.
Yeah. Robert and Charles.
Yeah, I think the first thing I just want to say thank you for everybody who has shared. And for me, in your initial invitation to look at the topic, my first question was, what's my understanding of money? And what was really interesting is because what came was an immediate, I don't understand, and also shame connected to it. So that whole topic of not understanding and in some way, I really want to get more clear, like, is it really not understanding and I know what it is I'm not understanding? Or if there's just sort of a reaction of shame and closing off and being afraid to even myself fully look at it. So all the shares about when Susan started about not about not understanding, it was like, oh, like really having somebody say it out loud. It sort of gives me more permission to really look at this more.
Mm.
And then I think the whole story of being rich and ashamed about it really brought up for me a lot of loneliness. I mean, for me, it wasn't being rich but some feeling of isolation and not really knowing what's going on with money also in my family. Like I can't think of any like this is what happened and this is the meaning I made of it. There's something, I don't know, I just don't really know what really happened. There was never really talked about. And I know there was a lot of power over my mother and myself from the father who had the money.
Mm.
That's, I think, as close as I can get here. And also just the acknowledgement that this is really, or for a lot of us, that this is really, really heavy. I think I didn't know the extent of the heaviness.
Mm. Yes.
Happy or heavy?
I'm sorry?
Happy or heavy?
Heavy,
Heavy.
heavy.
Heavy. Okay.
Yes, it's a big difference, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
It's such another important element of the person in the family who controls the money has the power, and
Mhm.
the feeling of the money being so mysterious, and then the shame about not understanding it. How does this thing work?
Yeah, but not mysterious in a good way. It's almost like
Yeah.
it's sort of
Yeah.
another way of holding
Don't.
power by not
Yes,
disclosing anything.
sort of mystifying rather than mysterious, right?
Yes.
No, just closed off.
Just closed off. It's not your
Uh-huh.
province. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what I'm struggling with. And I'm glad you reflected that back and I could see that. No, it's closed off.
Closed
It's
off.
not some interesting mystery at all. It's just closed off. Thank you. And again, thank you to everybody who shared.
Robert, when you say that, and I'm sorry, Charles, I know it's your turn. Um, when you say that, I feel very inspired because I feel like many people are closed off,
Mhm.
women particularly, but also many people who were desperately poor
Hmm.
are closed off from the whole thing of money. And it makes me rebellious. It's like, oh, I'm not going to be closed off from this.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well, my question comes is like, how do I do that to myself? Because it wasn't like, oh, I want to know, and these are the questions. It was like, I want to know, and something in me is like closing
Don't
off.
ask. Yeah.
closing off. Yeah.
That's
Don't have a
that's
right
yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Charles.
Did I go now?
Yeah.
Okay. So here I come with my usual tune. I want to say to Orna that this is capitalism. I was so struck one time when I was reading an essay about Marx that he envisioned a moneyless where people would meet their needs and have their needs met because they was according to their needs. People would contribute according to their capacity, and money wouldn't even be part of the picture. Money wouldn't. And how? And can we even begin to, John Lennon, imagine no money? And then that would mean that your parents having the money to buy was just a social artifact. It wasn't an individual artifact. In a society that was constructed differently, nobody would have the ability to buy that. Nobody would need to. So the sense of guilt is we make it individual, personal, but it's really a social construct. And we don't look at the fact that it's a social, and that money is a social construct too. So that we're all caught in this trap where we think that we don't see that actually it's not a, I mean, if you have a genuine community, everybody shares, everybody, okay, well, you need this, so you'll get this, and you need that, and you'll get that, and I'll contribute this. And it's people don't, in a genuine community, people aren't thinking about money. They're thinking about what their needs are and who can contribute to. So if we could extend that socially, I know it's a huge thing and but I don't think we even begin to think about how that might be possible. So I think that it's not, I want to just get back to Orna. It's not an individual thing. It isn't you and your parents. It's a whole society that's created these ability for some people to have a lot of money and buy their way out. That's not just an individual thing. It's a social construct. I want you to take it that way. And how can we change that rather than have it you bear the personal guilt or your parents the guilt of having had that money? It was all wrong from the beginning. Okay, enough.
May I question something from what was just shared? Uh, the question is, has money become, or has it become, like since long time and still is, an agent between the world and us? So there's no other way to relate to the world than through that agent.
Under this system, there is not. You're correct. And we create a different system. That's the open question.
I just want to say I just love the idea of human needs rather than human rights. I think it's a different beginning of changing. Well, the only thing I can change or transform is my energy or what I give my attention to. And it's around resonance. And in this forum or this community, we bring our experience, and that's a real value. We don't get charged. We don't pay for this, even though that's a part of a conversation. So already we are experiencing our values and we're bringing them forward. And I think another value is around the way to relate to each other from those values of kindness and generosity and respect and trust.
That's so beautiful, Pauline. And you're pointing out that here in this community, we're not exchanging money and nobody's putting any monetary value on what we're contributing to each other. So here we have a miniature example of that.
I think it's a model, yes, that I value. Yeah.
I have to come in here, and I wasn't intending to say this, but it's so relevant in this moment. When we first started Help the Helpers during the pandemic, it felt to me like it was just a natural thing that we come together, and it was very important that it be money free, that it doesn't have to do with money. And we all came together just overnight almost. And for 6 years, we have had our Help the Helpers, with wonderful talks and wonderful conversation without money. But now there's this turning point here, because this project is connected with other projects of bringing people together. FOTA, which is the Focusing Oriented Therapy Association, has a website now, a journal. We have our Forge training, or group training program. And we have needs that we didn't have before, and we're reaching out into all these places. But as this happens, we have people like us who are contributing, but we have the need for administration that is paid, because we have all these different ways we have to send out notices, and every Sunday Christine sends you a notice and an invitation. And so we now need money to be able to continue with all of these things. Our Forge training doesn't preclude anybody from the training who doesn't have money. So that value we've gotten from Jane Genlin about nothing should be prohibited because of money. And I think we all, as focusers, hold that value. But now, entering into this larger world of projects that need administration, the videos that you receive of our help, they have to be edited and they have to be really changed for anybody to be able to take out anything they say. All of this can't just be volunteer work. We need some skilled work there, and we have a team of video editors. So we're thinking about how to make this financial model that keeps the value of our values being separate than our money, but also will be sustaining so that this can go on, and we're having something for the future. So we're thinking about asking people, Help the Helpers people, you, to donate money for the administration. So that is very, very much salient, right? Very, very much what we want to do is ask you to donate. Maybe somebody at the end of Help the Helpers will just donate money that is contributing to this. Other people might want to donate a lump sum of money and then not think about it. And other people, of course, won't want to donate money, and there's absolutely no pressure to do that. But I'm just wondering, when we have this right here with us, I mean, how do we deal with as a community? We need money, and we need to separate money from our human connectedness.
Can I make two comments about that, Lynn?
Please, Charles, I need you.
Well, we do live in a society which is built around money. That you can't just ignore that. You're not requesting money to somebody's labor or whatever. To do something of value. I think I put it under the category of what Marshall would call a request that's connected to a need. And then people can say, oh, it gives me great joy to contribute to that need. And this is a way I can do it. Thank you. Me a way to. So I don't see that, especially while I was against getting degrees because I thought degrees were, you just learn things. You don't test for competency, but you don't have degrees. After a while, I realized in this society, you need degrees. So we have to live with the realities of the world that we're in, but also I think we can do it in a spirit where it's a gift that we're giving to meet a need and not being charged.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. A gift to meet a need, and that it isn't just about being charged.
And it's also acknowledging the reality of the world that we live in the sense that, no, it's not ideal. There are these problems. How do we solve these problems? Not by saying, again, fix what you can rather than trying to fix the horrible system that creates some of those problems. I mean, depending on your capacities, according to your abilities, you can take on the big issues or the small issues, but taking on the small issues is an acknowledgement rather than a othering of the bigger problems that exist.
Not ignoring that certain things are the result of a structure that we have, right? Like that Orna's parents had money and they could buy their way. But that was really construct of the society that they lived in at a pace.
It's grandparents.
Grandparents,
Yeah,
yes.
Your grandparents?
yeah, on
Okay.
the Hungarian side. Yeah.
But people die in the United States all the time because they can't afford their
Yes,
medication.
exactly.
We're still in that society.
Yeah,
It's just not as
that was
dramatic as in the Holocaust.
And I
that
think
that was that was my point. Go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
correct.
I think that you're right that money is a social construct, and it's also a group thing because the elite, different elites um, share connections and transfer money and also sort of rule the media and rule all kinds of other things throughout the history. So it's a group thing, and it's interesting to think about it in when we talk about groups in other dimensions.
Yeah.
So that's the point. It's a group thing.
Yes, it's a group thing. Yes. I wonder if we could take just a moment to pause. Our time is almost up, and we didn't have time for breakout rooms. I think it's hard to, it's more needed for breakout rooms, and it's harder to find time for breakout rooms with this series. But let's take a moment and see if there's anything that you've wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to say, especially those who haven't spoken yet.
There's so many of you with something to offer.
Well, I want to ask, how do we help the helpers?
Oh, well, we're going to tell you that next week. We'll
Oh,
figure that out
okay,
the exact way.
okay.
Make it easy. Thank you, June. Thank you. I'd like to ask if anyone here is interested in money and the workings of money to help me figure out a good plan for getting money for our projects. Would you please put your name in the chat, and I'm going to ask for your for you to think about it with me. And if there's anybody here who would take a more active role and sort of really take a look at the money situation with me and how to deal with it, I would love that help.
Lynn, it's BJ. I think it would be a lovely starter for you to just say a couple of things about the parameters that you work in, that with regard to what you're willing to do to create a financial system. As I understand it, the financial system you're imagining falls within the parameters of how you understand Jean's philosophy.
Yes.
So, could you say more about that?
I could say just a sentence because we don't have time, but I definitely will say more about it as we go along. But the most important thing I think that Esther is helping us think about is that is money is never just money. It is this social construct. It is this way that we have agency in the world. And we don't want in our focusing communities, we don't want people with more money to have more power, and we don't want people to be excluded from anything if they don't have money. We don't want, if somebody asks for a scholarship in our training program, we don't ask them, oh, how much money do you have, or anything like that. People need to pay less. They pay what they can pay without any question. And we invite people who have money to pay more, so that the people that can pay less can pay less. And we have donations, and we have to figure out how we can invite people to contribute more to that, to this project that sustains us as a community. So that's all I can say right now, but I'll say more at a different time. I want to say that I so appreciate this conversation, and we've had so many different elements, and we haven't had time to really go to each branch that people have brought, like Dorothy's idea that money, the mystification, and Liz saying money is like being a grown-up, and just so many strands. The grief about money, the guilt about money, the joy that that some of us have about making money and using money. This whole idea of making, we think of making money, making and community, and it being, I mean, there are so many strands. So I want to thank you very, very much. And I think we have a poem that isn't only about money, but is very important for this moment. I think Charles wants to say something before we end. Yes, Charles.
He's just giving you a hands up. He doesn't want to
Oh,
speak.
This is the thumbs up, Lynn, for what you're
oh,
saying.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We also need the people who would give it a thumbs down, because we need all the voices. Especially, it's like, okay, here's the nitty gritty. Now, we're going to test our community by bringing in this issue of money, right? So we need all the people that say, no, 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 don't bring money into this. We need those voices too. Okay, so Dorothy, you're going to end our session. And Esther, thank you so much. You really opened this up for us.
Thank you for the prompt. It was really interesting and useful to hear from so many people with so many different useful points of view. And the value was tremendous. Thank you.
Yes. Dorothy.
What hit me, I was looking for poems about money, and it hit me of what is happening in Iran is just so difficult. And so I just looked for an Iranian poet that stood out for me, to put that out there for all of us. I found Farouk Farrokhzad, and I, oh, great. Thank you, Katerina. Looks like you're put it in the chat for me. And she lived from 1935 to 1967 and died at 32 in an auto accident, but which is very sad. She sounded like an incredibly talented woman who had so much to say to her people in the world, about how women are treated in the world and how we treat each other. Wind up doll. Even more, oh yes, one can remain silent even more. Inside internal hours, one can fix lifeless eyes on the smoke of a cigarette on a cup's form, the carpet's faded flowers, or on imaginary writings on the wall. With stiff claws, one can whisk the curtains aside, look outside. It's streaming rain. A child with a balloon bouquet cowers beneath a canopy. A rickety cart flees the deserted square in haste. One can remain fixed in one place here, inside the curtain, but deaf, but blind. With an alien voice utterly false, one can cry out, I love. In the oppressive arms of a man, one can be a robust, beautiful female, skin like leather tablecloth, breasts large and hard. One can stain the sinlessness of love in the bed of a drunk, a madman, a tramp. One can cunningly belittle every perplexing puzzle, alone occupy oneself with crosswords, content with unimportant words. Yes, unimportant letters, no more than 5 or 6. One can spend a lifetime kneeling, head bowed, before the cold altar of the Imans, find God inside an anonymous grave, faith in a few paltry coins. One can rot inside a mosque's chamber, an old woman, prayers dripping from lips. Whatever the equation, one can always be a 0, yielding nothing, whether added, subtracted, or multiplied. One can think your eyes are buttons from an old, ragged shoe. Caught in a web of anger, one can evaporate like water from one's own gutter. With shame, one can hide a beautiful moment like a dark, comic instant photo rammed deep into a wooden chest. Inside a day's empty frame, one can mount the portrait of a condemned, a vanquished, a crucified. Cover the gaps in the walls with silly, meaningless drawings. Like a wind-up doll, one can look out at the world through glass eyes, spend years inside a felt box, body stuffed with straw, wrapped in layers of dainty lace. With every salacious squeeze of one's hand, for no reason, one can cry, ah, how blessed, how happy I am.
Oh, thank you, Dorothy. Thank you. See you all next week. Have a good week. And thank you again, Esther. And
Thank you. Thank you, Katerina. And thank you, of course, Lynn and everybody.
bye-bye.